The plane that vanished, the mystery the world still cannot solve. Here on World Stories, we bring you the stories that spark interest. Remember to subscribe if you love history. On the night of March 8, 2014, everything about the flight seemed completely normal. Passengers boarded a large commercial aircraft at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Some were heading home. Some were traveling for business. Others were simply beginning new adventures. There were 239 people on board. Families, students, professionals, children. The aircraft preparing for departure was Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, scheduled to fly to Beijing Capital International Airport. For everyone on board, it was supposed to be an ordinary overnight journey. But before the sun would rise, this plane would disappear from the face of the earth. At 12:41 a.m., the massive aircraft lifted into the dark sky above Malaysia. Inside the cabin, passengers relaxed. Some watched movies. Some fell asleep almost immediately. In the cockpit, the pilots communicated calmly with air traffic control. Everything was exactly as expected. Then, about 40 minutes into the flight, the plane reached cruising altitude. Air traffic control in Malaysia prepared to hand the aircraft over to Vietnamese controllers as it crossed into the next airspace zone. The final message from the cockpit came through clearly. It was routine, normal, nothing sounded unusual. But those two words would become the last confirmed communication ever received from the plane. Then, silence. Just minutes later, something strange happened. The aircraft's transponder signal vanished from radar. Air traffic controllers attempted to contact the pilots again. No response. They tried again. Still nothing. At first, officials assumed it might simply be a communication glitch. That kind of thing occasionally happens during flights. But as the minutes passed, and the aircraft failed to appear on Vietnamese radar, concern turned into alarm. Something was terribly wrong. As investigators began studying radar data, they made a shocking discovery. The plane had not simply disappeared, it had turned around. Instead of continuing toward China, the aircraft had reversed direction and flown back across the Malay Peninsula. Military radar tracked the aircraft for a short time afterward. Then, it vanished again. This time, completely. When the plane failed to arrive in Beijing, the world realized a disaster had likely occurred. A massive international search operation began. More than 25 countries joined the effort. Ships, aircraft, and satellites scanned enormous sections of ocean. Initially, search teams focused on the South China Sea, where officials believed the aircraft might have crashed. But days passed, then weeks, and there was no sign of the plane. No wreckage, no debris, nothing. Then investigators uncovered something extraordinary. Although the plane had disappeared from radar, it had continued communicating silently with satellites. These were automatic electronic handshakes sent between the aircraft and an orbiting satellite owned by Inmarsat. These signals revealed something unbelievable. The aircraft had continued flying for nearly 7 hours after it disappeared. 7 hours. That meant the plane had traveled thousands of miles away from its original route. Using complex satellite calculations, experts determined the aircraft likely ended its journey somewhere deep in the remote waters of the Indian Ocean, one of the most isolated places on Earth. The new search area was enormous. Imagine searching for a single missing object in an area larger than some entire countries. That's exactly what investigators were facing. Robotic submarines scanned the ocean floor. Advanced sonar systems mapped underwater mountains and deep trenches. Years passed as the search continued, but still, the plane itself remained missing. Then, in 2015, something unexpected happened. On a beach on Reunion Island, a man discovered a strange piece of aircraft debris. Investigators quickly flew the object to aviation experts. After careful analysis, they confirmed the fragment came from a Boeing 777, the same type of aircraft used for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. Eventually, several more pieces of debris were found washed ashore along the coasts of Africa and nearby islands. These discoveries confirmed one thing. The aircraft had indeed crashed somewhere in the Indian Ocean, but the main wreckage and the flight recorders have never been located. Without the wreckage, investigators have struggled to determine exactly what happened. Over the years, several theories have emerged. Some believe there may have been a sudden mechanical failure or electrical fire that disabled communication systems. Others suspect a deliberate act inside the cockpit. One theory suggests that the aircraft may have lost cabin pressure, leaving everyone unconscious while the plane continued flying on autopilot until it ran out of fuel. There are even more controversial theories involving hijacking or cyber interference. But despite countless investigations, none of these explanations has ever been proven. For the families of the 239 people on board, the mystery is deeply personal. Many have spent years searching for answers. Some continue pushing governments and private exploration companies to keep searching the ocean floor. They believe that somewhere, deep beneath the dark waters of the Indian Ocean, the missing aircraft still lies hidden, waiting to be discovered. Today, more than a decade after the disappearance, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 remains one of the greatest mysteries in modern aviation. Advanced technology continues to improve. New deep-sea exploration missions are being proposed, and many experts believe the aircraft will eventually be found. But until that day comes, the world is left with one haunting question. What really happened to the plane that vanished? And why has the ocean kept it secret for so long?